you start, Clint will start timing you, and then he'll raise his hand when there's 30 seconds to go.
All right. So this first image of one soldier helping another up a mountain is indicative of my story, of my meaning, and also of the first service our business will provide. To tell you a little bit about my story, you have to understand that I was part of the second wave into Iraq. Now this is when a classic ground war shifted to a guerrilla insurgency, and we were not prepared. We didn't have the training, we didn't have the equipment. And so we did what generations of warfighters have done before us, and we tried collectively to solve our own problems. We found out who had the metal sheets, who knew how to weld, where do we have the space to craft armor, and many other things that are still in use in the military today. Well, as my wife and I went through this program, and we talked to our fellow veteran entrepreneurs, we realized they had many of the same problems that we did, and they generally fell into two categories. One was they needed help, not just mentorship, but they needed tasks to be done, phone calls to be made, research to be accomplished. And they also needed the right kind of money at the right time. Now, I have a group of mentors who are all retired veterans. And as I talked to them about these issues, they shared with me that they also wish they had better ways of investing in veteran entrepreneurs, whether that investment was cash, or time, or assistance. Now, due to the program, my wife and I were primed to recognize a two-sided market when we saw one. And so, using the same techniques I used in Iraq, I set out to say, what can we pull together to construct something to connect these two together? The first thing for money we found is something called the Jobs Act. Very recent, and this allows normal investors to take equity stakes in startup businesses. Very powerful. The next thing we found is that to account for the help before a business has profit or revenue is a methodology called Slicing the Pie by Mike Moyer, who is an entrepreneur and a professor. This Slicing the Pie methodology allows any kind of contribution to be allocated or tracked fairly so that when the business is finally profitable or has a major funding event, that a fair share gets returned to those who help make the business successful. And the last element we found is something called blockchain. Along with the corresponding technology of smart contracts, this dramatically lowers the cost to manage all of this information and to do it in a way that is transparent and highly secure. That's why we call this service HonorCorps, because we're bringing together veterans as a corps to honor each other, to help each other in the same way we did when we were at war. Now, simply how it works is whoever is contributing to the business. The veteranpreneur with their time and money, what we call the investor runs with their time and money. It all gets tracked as part of this pie, so that when the business is finally profitable, the accounting system and the technology can automatically reallocate that profit or equity back. Now, our service fee structure for this is very novel in that we profit to the degree that these businesses themselves are successful. We are aligning our success for this business with the success of the businesses that we help roll out. What are we looking for to go forward? We need to meet more retired veterans, and we need to meet more veteran entrepreneurs. We also need to find people who are familiar with the Jobs Act because there's some pretty serious compliance requirements. And we also need access to some of the novel technical advice and assistance for blockchain and smart contracts. But what we promise to everyone who helps us is that we're going to eat our own dog food. We're going to use the slicing pie methodology to make sure that if our business is successful, that those who have contributed to our success also get a fair return. Any questions?
What drives the need for the cryptocurrency and the
Absolutely nothing drives the need. In other words, our business could be successful without the blockchain and smart contracts.
So you can't do this with
Absolutely.
regular cash. So why that?
Because we believe the transparency and accountability of blockchain by itself. So we don't actually have to use a cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrencies do use blockchains, but you can use a blockchain without a cryptocurrency. Exactly.
What would you be using the prize money for?
We would take the prize money and actually build an investment fund to give to veterans who wanted to come through this platform. So we want to be able to prime the pump. And we're willing to take our prize money and say, we're going to reallocate that prize money back to the veterans who want to use our platform as a way of growing their business.
Would you take money from outside non-veterans? Or is that part of the job?
For our business, we would consider revenue partners. But primarily initially, this is about trust. And veterans, in some cases, are very careful and very cautious. They want to make sure they get the right money and the right investors. And so initially, we are limiting it to other retired veterans to be their funders and their holders.
Have you partnered with some of the other entrepreneurial veteran groups?
We've had discussions specifically with the HCC Foundation to see if this program itself could be our pilot.
Okay. What about other regional and national
Not yet.
groups like 1871 or the folks up in Tallahassee? None of those people?
Not yet.
Any other questions?
So I do.
Okay, sure.
I know you keep saying retired veterans,
Mhm.
so you're not gonna accept any investments from any veteran that didn't actually retire from the military?
We will accept them. The reason we're focusing on retired veterans, there's over 2 million of those, or almost 2 million retired veterans, and they get a guaranteed pension. And so they typically, statistically, have more money available for investment than some of these other veterans. Now, there are exceptions. There's people who get after 4 or 6 years and are making a lot of money. But we also tend to think that retired veterans, the people who put in the bulk of the time in the military, tend to have, frankly, a level of trust because the military filters out those who can't have the same level of integrity. That's not a guarantee.
That's time for questions.
All right, good job.